So, okay, now let's get into the predictions we made before the season started. So we had a bunch of categories, and we each picked players. And there were repeats allowed, although I think we didn't really repeat very often. But we'll run back through these and our answers and kind of update them at the midway point of the season. So first up, we had offensive MVP. And I predicted Jalen Hurts to be the Eagles' offensive MVP. You guys both chose Saquon Barkley. So I guess we'll throw it around and we can just talk about who our pick would be at this point. And for me, I'm sticking with Jalen Hurts. I mean, if you told me before the season the run game would be bad, the O-line would be banged up, A.J. Brown would be hurt, we would be wondering if the Eagles were going to fire the defensive coordinator 6 weeks or offensive coordinator 6 weeks into the season, I would have thought this team would have had a really rough time. And yet they're 6-2 with wins over the Chiefs, Bucks, and Rams. Hurts has completed 70% of his passes with a 15-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So I'm sticking with Jalen Hurts as my MVP pick. Jonny, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at my first two. I gloated about how many I got right last year. I'm not sure about this one. Yeah, I think me and BLG obviously both went for Saquon. If I was voting again, I would change. I think I would go with Hurts as well. I think it looks to me like they want the offense. And we'll see. Maybe it will go more of a run-heavy approach, but it seems to be like they want to throw the ball a little more this year, and the run game hasn't taken off yet. So it's still a toss-up, but I think Hurts would probably edge it. But you never know. In a few weeks, I might look smart again if Saquon has a couple of 200-yard games back-to-back. I still believe this offense should be a run-first team, and maybe they go back to it. But yeah, so far this year, the safe option wins out, I believe.
On the one-game sample size where they actually ran gap schemes, Saquon looked pretty good.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's all I'll say. But BLG, what about you?
Yeah, it's funny. I was not bullish enough on Saquon last year, and in a way, almost too bullish on him this year. Although I would argue it's not his fault. That's why he hasn't been more successful. Now, part of that is you are running back, and you can only control so much if the offensive line play isn't there for you. So it is Jalen Hurts, absolutely, to this point. I mean, he's just had 2 excellent games heading into the bye. Even in like the Buccaneers game wasn't a perfect game for him. That first half might have been the first half of any game in his entire career. So I think we're seeing the through line of Jalen Hurts this season, to me, going back to even week 1, where basically he's carrying the offense with his runs because the design isn't quite there. I think Jalen Hurts, and I feel comfortable projecting him and leaning into him. Jonny, you talked about there how, that you want them to be a run-first team. That has to be, to me, an element of this team for sure, especially with Saquon here. But I want the coaching staff to lean more into Jalen Hurts and trust Jalen Hurts a little bit more than they have as a whole to this point in the season, because I think he's playing at a very high level, and I think he can handle a little bit more on his plate, specifically when it comes to, letting him throw the ball down the field, because he's just so good at that. And they weren't really doing that at times early in the year. So yeah, I will absolutely go with Jalen Hurts, who is one of the, one of the betting favorites to be MVP of the entire league.
Yeah. All right. Well, then other side of the ball, defensive MVP.
Ugh.
I picked Zach Bond, BLG picked Quinyon Mitchell, and Jonny picked Jalen Carter. And I don't know where you go with that one at this point. BLG, who's your defensive MVP at the halfway point?
Well, I'll go with Quinyon Mitchell. I think Quinyon, he won NFC Defensive Player of the Week for going up against the Bucks, shutting down Emeka Egbuka, who's been a problem for a lot of teams this year. Has it been perfect? No. I think he's not been quite to the level maybe that he was last year, but he's still very, very good, an elite cornerback. And you saw just how much the defense did miss him when he went out of that Giants game, the first one. So I'm comfortable with sticking with Quinyon. I think he's been really, really good.
All right. Jonny, what about you?
Well, I'm not going Jalen Carter because he hasn't been very good. So do you know what? It's a really tough one, actually. I might just stay on brand, Shane, and go Cooper DeJean. I think Zach Bond the first month was unbelievable. What am I watching? Best linebacker in the league, best linebacker I've seen in years. And then I think he slowed down just a little bit. He's still been very, very good. Don't get me wrong. If you asked me a month ago, I might have said Zach Bond, but I think Cooper DeJean might have actually overtaken him. And with the Kobe Dean and Jahar Campbell back, is there an argument that the worst player the Eagles could possibly lose right now would be Cooper DeJean? I think you could make that case. I think you could argue that DeJean is the most important player on the defensive side of the ball. So I'll go Cooper DeJean.
If you're going to say the worst player they could lose, I think we saw what happened when they lost Quinyon Mitchell and they still had Cooper DeJean on that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
They got Jair Alexander now, though, Shane, so it's fine. We're all good.
Yeah, but they also have Michael Carter.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just gonna stick with Bond. I mean, he had a really rough game against the Giants in that first game, but it wasn't just him. The whole defense, whatever was going on in that game, was just weird. But I think he's been really good outside of that. I mean, I think he's playing a bit of a different role this year. They're using him to rush more. He's 5th on the team in pressures and 2nd in sacks right now, despite the fact he's only rushed 42 times. He leads the team in tackles, in defensive stops. He's 2nd in pass breakups. So I think I'm going to go with Zach Bond still. Although I do think if the Eagles, like if you had to lose like one of those 3 guys, I think I would say Bond is the guy you would rather lose because you've got 2 linebackers you could plug in, but that's more of a scarcity thing. So I think I'll stick with Bond, but I think you could make a good argument, honestly, for any of those 3. So
yeah, we should do after, by the way. We should tweet out and get the people to vote who has the best picks overall for all of them.
Yeah. Let me hop on that, mister. I won't click 3 buttons to edit a video.
Yeah, all right, sounds good.
Okay, offensive breakout player of the year. I went with Devontae Smith. I almost went with Ben Van Sumeren, and thankfully I didn't do that. I went Devontae Smith, BLG went Dallas Goedert, and Jonny went Tyler Steen. So Jonny, at the midway point of the season, where are you going with that now?
I don't know. Are you right? I think you might be right. I don't hate Tyler Steen. As far as an offensive lineman can break out, I think he's played well. I think there's an argument he's been the Eagles' best offensive lineman some weeks, believe it or not, especially interior offensive line, I should say. Pass protection's been good. Run protection's been so-so, but the whole team seems to struggle to run. So I don't hate my answer. I might change it to yours because there's not much else, but I'm splitting hairs, to be honest. I don't really see a great other answer. No one to me has leaped off the page. Yeah,
this one was always a tough one because it was a great offense that returned 10 of 11 starters. So
yeah,
you have to quibble about what breakout means. And I would stick with Devontae Smith. He's on pace for a career high in yards at 1,250. But you could make the same argument with Dallas Goedert being the career high for him in touchdowns in a season. It feels like mostly touchdown production, though. Like they've kind of forced it to him in the red zone more so than just like down in, down out dominance. But I'm fine with either of those answers, but I'm just going to stick with Devontae. What about you, BLG?
Yeah, I think Devontae is like the correct answer. And I think you're even seeing him kind of, given the A.J. Brown weirdness we have going on, like almost, I think people are like perceiving him even to be more of like the Eagles' top receiver, not only now, but also maybe, moving forward over the long term. But I do think Goddard, I will defend my pick and say that, the red zone stuff is nice. He's averaging his lowest yards per reception of his career, which isn't great. He's, not like helping him a ton, I guess, between the 20s. But the fact that he has been so good in the red zone, and some of that is, just the scheming. And for as much as we can complain about Kevin Patullo this year, they have absolutely been nails in that area, which in fairness is kind of typically like red zone performance isn't always indicative of skill as much as there is a lot of luck in there as well. But there is something to be said for him having 7 touchdowns this year when he had just that same many or 8 in the past 3 years or so combined. So, and, could easily have a bunch more in the second half. So the fact that he has been effective there, I mean, it's not always like the most like, oh my gosh, he's just totally unstoppable, but he's producing there. So, I'll say that Shane's answer is correct, but I don't hate my answer.
Yeah. Okay, and then same question on the defensive side of the ball, defensive breakout player of the year. I went with Nolan Smith, BLG picked Moro Ojomo, and Jonny picked Jalix Hunt. I don't even really know who to say. Like, I want to say Jahad Campbell, who was really good over the first half of the season.
That doesn't count.
I'm not sure that why does that not count?
You can't pick a rookie as breakout, really, can you?
Sure you can.
Maybe.
You can. But I'm not sure that his snap count's not going to start eroding. I mean, we saw the weird stuff before the bye week. I'm going to hate it if it happens. But so I would probably lean towards Campbell. I guess you could maybe say Ojomo, but the Eagles' pass rush hasn't been particularly good. I don't really know, honestly, where to go with that one. What do you think, BLG?
Leads the Eagles in sacks. Of course I'm taking my pick here.
Yeah, he's never had a sack before this year, did he? Was it his first year with
in the regular season, yes, correct.
In the regular season,
some of the playoffs
now he's got
year.
4. Yeah. I think he's the pick. He's been really good past few weeks.
Absolutely. Not perfect, but I mean,
he
that's
didn't play well.
Yes,
First
very
few
good
weeks.
production. Yes.
I think it's funny how people's narrative can change. Like, I think because he didn't play very well the first couple of weeks, I think everyone's just assumed he's been bad. Some people like watch the first week and go, "Oh, he's bad. What are we doing?" He's played a hell of a lot of snaps, by the way, Shane, as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's nearly played as many as he did the whole of last year, and I think he's played better. So his snap count is really good. You could make a case for Jordan Davis at the start of the year as well. But again, a bit like Bourne, I think he's sort of slowed down. I think DeJean and Quignon were too good last year.
Which has sort of been the problem with Davis over his whole time in Philadelphia, is starting strong and tailing off.
Yeah. So I think Ajomo's probably the best bet. I'm looking at this, and I will say the one thing I'm good at is predicting who's not going to be very good, because my next two answers I'm quite happy with. So there you go.
All right. Let's go biggest disappointment on offense. I said Saquon. BLG said Landon Dickerson. Jonny said Will Shipley, which we both argued with because we disagreed that you could say running back
People
3 was going to
said
be
he
the
was going to
biggest
be running back
disappointment.
2.
But
Everyone loves Will Shipley. What are you on about? PFF Sam tweeted he was a new Christian McCaffrey when we drafted him. Everyone loves Will Shipley, except me.
yeah, my
apparently.
biggest disappointment at the midway point is Kyle McCord, so I'm just going to leave that
very
there.
funny.
But,
Yeah, very funny. Will Shipley has genuinely played less than he did last year, and this is a guy when they came out, he was like, he can catch the ball. He's had 2 catches this year. Like, he's just not. I know he's been injured, I know, but he's replaced now. I feel like he's done. Yeah, not to say I'm happy about being right, but I just never liked that pick when there was better options. 4th round pick for a running back, man. It's a bad pick. There's a lot of good late round backs that do stuff all the time. Yeah, that was one I'd like to say I feel like I got right when they drafted him.
So to be clear, you're sticking with running back 3 as your biggest disappointment?
Because I think most people project him to be running back. I'm going to bring up preseason predictions for the Eagles, like fantasy guys. He was definitely ranking above AJ Dillon. There was talk AJ Dillon wouldn't even make the roster. So I feel like, yeah, I'm going to stick with it, whether you like it or not.
All right.
I'm looking at some fantasy projections now and seeing what people actually said about him.
What practice squad player would you like to pick for your biggest disappointment?
Yeah. That's a good one. I don't know. What was my actual one was Landon Dickerson, you said?
Which is, if you predicted he was going to get hurt. So I need to go back and find out why you predicted him.
Yeah, I guess we might have done that episode after he had gotten banged up.
Yes.
Ben.
You might. It's a good answer. It's a good answer.
I mean, I think he's been coming on lately, and it seems like that game off, when he missed the game against both, the Giants and the Vikings, or at least one of those.
I think he missed both.
Yeah. Oh, I think that time off has helped him. Maybe the bye week will help him, but certainly early in the season, and hard to, again, not totally, I think probably said at the time, not like his fault in terms of, I don't think like he slipped off in terms of not wanting to be great or anything, as much as he's just had to feel the effects of the injuries he has been dealing with back to training camp. And certainly that was a concern about him coming into the NFL. He's been much healthier, I think, than any of us would have expected him to be, considering the issues he had in college. I will use Dickerson as a point here to kind of talk about how I don't regret being so bullish on Saquon, because I think he's looked great this year when like he's had chances. He doesn't look like a player who's fallen off to me at all. And you'll even see that in games where he's not having success in the box score, but like he's getting contacted a couple yards in the backfield and he still rips off like a 4-yard run. Like a lot of other running backs aren't turning that into a positive gain. I do regret not weighing and considering how much of last year's toll would take on the offensive line, because I think it's impacted them more than it has Saquon. I think that massive rushing workload just really, like Jordan Mailata talked about this early in the season. He said he didn't feel like himself like he does normally after every other season of his career until much later into the offseason. And the fact last year that you had Landon Dickerson get banged up in the NFC Championship game. Same thing with Cam Jurgens. And these guys had off-season surgery and haven't been 100%. Lane Johnson has missed some snaps this year. The only guy who hasn't so much is Tyler Steen, who did not play last year, and he has been healthier. So I absolutely do kind of regret not considering, and something I have learned going forward, that when you're talking about these massive running back seasons and how it might impact them and they can't do it year to over year, I think it's the offensive line too. That's a huge factor in that.
I think good comment from Breda Clip saying Jahan Dotson could be a shout this year as disappointment. I know he wasn't great last year, but he just hasn't been involved.
Yeah. And they traded a third for him.
That's a bad trade, isn't it? It's a bad trade.
I'd rather have Jalen Phillips for a third, that's for sure.
Yeah, 8 yeah. Rough.
It was Lana Dickerson did not miss the Vikings game because Cam Jurgens missed the Vikings game and Toth moved to center. But he left the Broncos game after 12 snaps and then missed that first Giants game is what it was. I put down Saquon as my answer with the caveat that, like, he's awesome and it hasn't had anything to do with him. But when you just look at statistical production, like, I think people expected Saquon to have a big year. I think Saquon went top 5 in a lot of fantasy drafts to a lot of people that are probably upset with that decision. And so, like, I mean, I don't think it's him, but his output's been disappointing. And so I guess that's a roundabout way of just kind of saying the entire offensive line, I suppose. But defensive, biggest disappointment. I said it was going to be, actually, I wrote down 2 answers and I was going to decide on the air, and I don't know which one I used. So my two answers were Moro Ojimo, and I said people would expect him to be Milton Williams, and he wouldn't be. Or Jordan Davis. I said despite losing the weight and the talk of being an every down player, he'll be snap limited and lose effectiveness as the season wears on. So I don't remember which of those guys I said, but BLG said Sidney Brown. Jonny said Andrew Makuba.
Wow, I crushed this.
Yeah. I don't know where I would go. I wouldn't go with Ojimo or Davis.
That's because it's wrong. So yeah.
I would probably say, like, it's tough for me to say between like CB2 or just like the pass rush in general. I think
Ringo
both of
would
those
be a
things.
Shout. I think Ringo
I
would be
think
a shout.
Ringo is where I would go because I sort of expected Ringo to be a bit better than he was, but I don't honestly really know where to go with that one.
Yeah, I feel like I've got a decent one, I'll be honest. I feel like Makuba's a pretty reasonable shout. I know he's a rookie, and I think I even said that. I think based on what people were expecting him to be, the obvious one was like, he's definitely going to be better than Tigana Johnson because he annoyed people, but he hasn't played particularly well. He's made major errors as well.
So you're telling me that a rookie can be the biggest disappointment, but a rookie can't be the breakout player? Okay,
you were just trying to defend that Ajobo was the most disappointing when he's had 4 sacks and never had a career regular season sack a second ago. So
I didn't say he was. No. I didn't
you
say
sort
that.
of tried to sell it. You was like you were considering it. You said he's not going to be Milton Williams. Well, that's like all right.
He's not.
I mean, yeah, great. Well, of course he's not because Milton Williams is really good. That's not disappointment. That's just you putting a false sense of what he could be. So he's not going to be Aaron Donald. Told you, nailed it.
But yeah, I think I would stick with Ringo because I really expected him to snatch that CB2 job.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen all the moves the Eagles have made at corner. So I'll pivot mine to Keely Ringo. Jonny can hate on a rookie. BLG, where are you going with yours?
I forget when you don't know when we recorded this originally.
I could find out, but I don't remember for sure.
I think part of why we didn't say Ringo at the time is because it may have already been kind of apparent that would be like it wouldn't even be disappointing at that point because the expectations had dropped so low that like it's just low hanging fruit to pick him. And there were no expectations at that point as he's like losing the cornerback battle to Adoree Jackson. I think in the scope of like the entire, if we mark since the end of last season, certainly it's Keely Ringo, but seeing the context of him struggle in training camp, the expectations dropped.
September 2nd.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, at that point, it was very clear that Ringo had been demoted entirely out of the cornerback competition. So he couldn't even disappoint because he was in no position to disappoint. He had already disappointed. So, yeah, I don't think it could be him from that framing. I guess Nolan Smith from the standpoint of, like, I don't know how much of it's fault. Like, the injury, is a big factor, but I think ultimately just like in terms of what the Eagles need from him, and he can still have a great second half of the season and redeem himself. But to this point, I mean, like they've needed more out of their pass rush and they had to trade for someone in part because of his lack of availability. So I think, and I love Nolan Smith to be clear, and I think he could have a big second half of the season, but I would throw him in there as well.
All right. Brett Eclipse is chiming in about Jalen Carter, which I think is a valid answer too.
God, yeah. I totally forgot Carter. He would absolutely be my answer right now. I don't know why. I was too busy saying how great my answer was than actually thinking about others. Yeah, Carter would be.
Too busy tearing down a rookie.
Carter would be my answer.
Yeah. And he also mentioned Jalix Hunt relative to expectations of where he left off.
See, I think that's where we've got fake expectations of him. That's our fault as fans. It's actually Jordan Maila's fault. He shouldn't have said so many good things about him. I'm blaming Mailata. He
as
says so much
Eric
nonsense.
always says, don't listen to
him.
Jordan Mailata. Nothing he says is real.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Okay. And then record predictions, we all predicted the Eagles to be 12-5. We sit at 6-2 right now.
Mm.
Jonny, I'll let you go first since you love
I haven't
predictions.
brought up the Eagles' schedule.
I can go first if you want.
You go first. Let me have a look.
I did this earlier today, and I did the same thing. I was like, let me look at the schedule again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 7 more wins. They play 9 more games, right? I'm going to go 7 wins. There's 6 of them that are like very just winnable. Not that like they lost to the Giants, obviously, so you don't know for sure. But I think like 6 of those, most people would agree they're going to win. And then after that, there's 3 especially difficult ones when you're looking.
Bills, Packers, Lions.
Yep, exactly. So
Cowboys
those
is
are the ones
away, isn't it? Though Cowboys won't be easy either. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, as in a case in point, in terms of like,
it's not an easy schedule to be fair. Chargers, I feel like it's got easier because they've lost both their tackles. Commanders suck, but I think they could always do something.
Yeah, those Commanders, but the Commanders and the Raiders, like late in the season.
Bears won't be easy because Ben Johnson's just going to do something stupid.
Disagree.
I don't know.
Not a Bears fan.
Yeah, they're annoying on an individual game-by-game basis. But yeah, Packers is not. Yeah, so where would you go? So sorry, BLG. So if you had them at 7,
I'm going to give them 7 more wins. I said they end. I'll go 1 over my prediction. I say they finish 13-4.
You also get into all the weirdness with like their schedule. They play Monday, then 2 Sundays, and then a Friday, a Monday, a Sunday, a Saturday. So basically in that whole stretch, they have 4 short weeks, including back-to-back short weeks when they go Monday to Sunday to Saturday. So it's terrible scheduling. And I do think that could potentially get to them, especially traveling on that second consecutive short week to Washington. And when you layer into that, like, there's a good chance they just don't play some guys like week 18.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with mine of 12-5, but a little bit of it is schedule related. A little bit of it is maybe they just like kind of throw a game at the end of the year because they already have their seating secure. So I will stick at 12-5.
Yeah, I think I'll go 12-5 as well. I'm glad
I went up because it would have been very boring if we all just stuck with the same thing.
Yeah, I could see them. I could see that. I think Commanders are probably beat both times. Bears, Raiders, Chargers. Yeah, Lions, Packers, Cowboys. It's not easy. Bills are going to be difficult. Cowboys won't be easy. Yeah, I think I'll go 12-5.
So we lost Shane here, I think.
Wow, that's an absolute disaster.
It's not Jonny for once. But he's reconnecting now. He's back.
I'm here.
Shane's embarrassing internet. You just sort it out.
I'm here. I don't know what happens
Riverside strikes once again.
Yes, everyone's on my side now. It's Riverside.
Revenge.
Yeah, no, I said I think I'd go 12-5, Shane. I think I'm going to stick with what I said.
Yes. All right.
And what do we think that gets them? We should go on the record with that too. We think they get the 1 seed. We all think they're going to win the division, obviously. So they're going to be a top 4 seed.
I think that might get them the 1. Seahawks are 6-2, Rams are 6-2, 49ers are 6-3, and everyone's injured.
Having the tiebreaker over the Bucks and the Rams could be huge. We'll see about the Lions. The Packers probably will.
Seahawks are the team that I'm most concerned about.
Seahawks are the ones, and I kind of feel like it's still led by Sam Darnold, and I know he's changed, and he's playing really, really well, but I'm such a big believer in like long-term consistency. It does one bad game turn that into a couple of bad games. That would be interesting. Do the Seahawks have enough? I really like the Shaheed trade they just made. Really like that for that. Really like that. And they've got a really like isn't Torrey Holton him and JSN is so vertically damaging because really good. Yeah, they might be the ones. I'd say top 2 seed, 12-5. Does it get you to 1? They might be 1 short. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'll say 1 because of the tiebreakers.
I think so, and part of that's me building in, like, maybe they just lose that last game because they're resting starters, which would probably mean they have the 1 seed. So, yeah, I think they probably get it done, but I do think it's going to be tough. The NFC is stacked. It's changed quickly from a very top-heavy AFC to, I think, Mark and I were talking on Chalk Talk yesterday, I think there's 8 teams that you could realistically say like are Super Bowl contenders, and 6 of the 8 are in the NFC. With the caveat that maybe Baltimore is that 9th team if they can go on a run. Like I think they're certainly good with Lamar back, but they might have dug such a big hole that they just won't be able to get out of it. So, Mahomes, Allen, always scary, but I think the NFC is where it's at this year. So, All right. Well, we did it. We went back and looked at our predictions.
You missed one final prediction, did you not?
Did we?
You missed our big, bold predictions, so we can laugh at how wrong we were. Because this will be good.
Yeah, okay, so we can laugh at these.
What one is the worst? What one is the worst? That'll be the vote here. Who had the worst?
I think it's mine is the worst.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So,
yours is probably the best, BLG.
My bold prediction was that the Eagles would open the season with a win over the Cowboys, and then lose 3 of their next 4.
So that's bad. Yeah,
Everybody
that's
would panic, and then they would win 9 straight after to get to 10-3.
I didn't think we were the opposite. We were winning, but we sucked.
So 10-3 is still on the table.
Just the total wrong way.
Yeah. BLG's was that Saquon would be better this year than he was last year. And he said that wouldn't necessarily mean more yards. But
I don't think Saquon's playing that worse, if anything.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think if he had the Colts offensive line, I think he could do exactly what Jonathan Taylor is doing.
I agree.
And then Johnny's was that Devontae and A.J. Brown would both have over 1,200 yards.
Yeah, obviously injuries taken into consideration. It's not looking good, seeing as A.J. Brown currently has a grand total of 395. I feel like it's probably going to take a lot for him to have 805 yards over the second half of the season. But how far is Devontae Smith away? What's he
He's on pace for 1,250. So he's on pace for it.
You know what? AJ Brown, he's got over his little hissy fit. He spoke to the Athletic. He's let it all out. It's not impossible.
He says that, but then wait until he starts deleting tweets hours before kickoff at the next game.
He leads less than 100 yards a game to do it. They got 9 games left, right?
Yes.
And 2 against the Commanders. If he gets Lattimore, that's 400.
Lattimore's done for
He's
the
out
year.
for the season.
Crap. All right. Cancel the prediction. That was my guaranteed 400 yards over 2 games.
Yeah. Now he just has to go against Lattimore's backup.
Play man coverage against AJ Brown all game. It would have been absolutely hilarious. Sad times. It's not impossible. 1,200 is not impossible. I'm now just solely rooting for that the rest of the year.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess mine is the one that's objectively wrong. The Eagles didn't lose 3 of that 4-game stretch. And technically, Saquon could still be better than last year. And technically, AJ and Devontae could get to 1,200 yards. This is why you don't make a bold prediction that can be verified within the first 4 weeks of the season. So I'll be better next year. I'll make a better bold prediction.
Yeah, I need to think properly about it. But bold predictions are always wrong. It's losing my name.
Yeah, pretty much. So, except for last year when I called Quinyon Mitchell getting his first career interception to seal the Packers game on Birds of the Round Table, and then he did it in the playoffs. That's the only bold prediction that has ever worked out, for me at least.
Yeah, I don't ever got a bold prediction right.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that is going to about do it. Thank you guys for tuning in to the show. And thank you, BLG, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on. You got any final thoughts you want to throw out there? Any written work you want to plug? The floor is yours.
Check out Johnny's written work at bleedinggreennation.com, where we have articles nonstop. If you're somehow not familiar, bleedinggreennation.com. Also, a pro tip here, sign up for an account. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything, barely takes any time at all. You automatically see fewer ads than you would if you were not logged into the site. So just sign into the site, comment, and contribute if you want. I would love it. See that you're more than welcome. But even if that's too much for you, you don't want to do that, you don't have to do anything. You can just sign in, you make your account, and then boom, you see fewer ads. So it's like a no-brainer.
All right. Good stuff there. Jonny, any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug?
No, I feel like BLG already plugged me, so it's wonderful. Yeah, I've been grinding in the film room, so I've got free scouting reports up. So if you want to know about the free signings, go and take a read, please.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of On the Shane Page. Jonny and I will be back next week with a film breakdown of an Eagles' hopeful victory over the Packers. We haven't discussed schedule because it's a Monday night game, but our schedule is about to get shot to crap over the second half of the season anyways, so we will figure it out as you go. Make sure you've got that subscribe button clicked or you're subscribed on podcasting platforms, so whenever we go live, whenever we drop shows, you guys will be able to see those, catch us live, catch us on replay. You can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. A lot of perks there. Go check that out. But otherwise, we will catch you guys next time. Again, thanks BLG for joining us. The real champ, the guy that got Jonny and I behind the mic together to begin with. So always a shout out there. Would love to have you on again down the road. So thank you guys. We will catch you next time. Go Birds.